Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the very unique Harley Davidson Sportster S out for a review ride. Now, as I say, unique is probably the best way to describe this bike. So if you'd like to see what my thoughts are to the bike, jump on the pillion seat and I'll take you all for a ride. The engine is a 1250cc Revolution Max with 121 brake horsepower at 7,500 RPM and 125 Nm of torque at 6,000 RPM. The gearbox is a 6-speed manual with a cable operated clutch. The exhaust is a 2-1-2 single-sided system. Front suspension is a 43mm inverted fork with compression and rebound adjustability. The rear suspension is a linkage mounted piggyback monoshock with compression, rebound and hydraulic spring preload adjustability. The front brakes are provided by a 4-pot Brembo caliper. For the rear brakes we have a Brembo single pot floating caliper. The front wheel is a satin black cast aluminium and it's 17-inch in diameter. The rear wheel is again a satin black cast aluminium and it's 16-inch in diameter. The headlights and the indicators are all LED. The rear lights and the rear indicators are also LED. On the left hand side we have the flasher, the cruise control, heated grips, mode button, the select buttons, the home button, the indicators and the horn. On the right hand side we have the start and kill switch, the hazards, the rider mode selection button and your music controls. The TFT screen displays all the usual information: speed, revs, range, fuel. Also, you can connect your mobile phone up and use Bluetooth to run your music or your navigation. In here you can also select all your preferences and your rider modes, change any settings which you wish to do so. The fuel tank capacity is 11.7 litres with a range of around 130 miles. The seat height is 765mm. The bike weighs in at 228 kilograms. The bike is belt driven. This is the white colour scheme. The other options are blue, black, grey and orange. The Harley Davidson Sportster S. A couple of years ago I was very close to purchasing one of these motorcycles, and for me this is something which is very different from anything else in the Harley range, and I think it's very unique and there's not much on the market which does compare to this. It's kind of a brute of a bike, but geared towards sports riding, quicker riding, stiffer setup, better handling, which are all the things you wouldn't necessarily associate with Harley Davidson. I own a couple of Harley Davidsons and have ridden many in the past, and this bike is definitely a completely different feeling to any of those. It's more of an animal, if you like, waiting to be tamed. Now, Harley Davidsons are really polarising, and people, in my opinion and my experience, tend to disregard them, and often without even riding one. Now, I suppose they are an acquired taste, but one thing is for certain: it's an experience, and it's an experience which you do not get on any other bike. So I would say, if you've not tried one, definitely jump on one and give it a go. Let's give the motorway test a try out then and see what this bike performs like. Well, up to 70, no issue whatsoever. Barely a twist of the throttle. Now, there is wind pressure here on the chest at 70 mile an hour, but I don't feel it's any worse than any other bike. So I think it's actually quite decent, the wind protection you're getting. Just try a little bit quicker. Yeah, I would say that it's decent on motorways. I could live with that. Maybe not for hour after hour, but you know, 45 minutes, an hour stretch down the motorway, I think that'll be no issue whatsoever. Let's give the brakes a try off the motorway. Yep, definitely decent. Now here's an ideal time to talk about one thing which I find that this bike not necessarily struggles with, but you can really notice, and that is the width and the size of that front tyre. In traffic or slow manoeuvres, you can really feel that that tyre is, well, huge. Is probably the best way to describe it. If there's any little divots in the road or even a stone or something like that, once the tyre hits it, you can really feel the bike want to move around, and you do have to fight it to keep it tracking straight. Now, it's not a huge problem. Again, it's just an observation. So let's give the bike the acceleration test up to the national speed limit. I'm in sport mode and I'm expecting good things from this bike. So let's see how it performs. There we go. Well, the acceleration test was certainly a success. Gets up to speed, nice and rapid. Plenty of torque, plenty of pulling power. And I think off the line, it'll match anything out there on the roads really. So then, the Harley Davidson Sportster S. After 2 weeks of riding this bike and covering around 650 miles, I've really had the opportunity to put this bike through its paces and give it a real good test out in a variety of conditions and locations. And this definitely is a very different animal to any other bike in the Harley range. Now, this bike reacts positively and reacts better the harder you push it. So if you throw it from left to right, really work the bike, load up that suspension, and most importantly of all, twist that throttle nice and hard. So first up, let's start with the positives then, things which I do like about the Harley Davidson Sportster S. And there is quite a lot of things which I do like about this bike. So first up is the build quality. Looking around this bike, I don't think there's anywhere where you can say money has been scrimped on or corners have been cut. It looks like it's been built to last. Everything looks like it's got a durable finish to it and everything operates really, really well. A couple of things which I like. The mirrors, the bar end mirrors, great visibility out of them, no shaking or moving around, and I think they look really, really cool and finish off the bike well. Another thing which I like, and may sound strange, is the levers. Now, I'm not sure what material they're made from, whether it's metal, plastic or some other composite, but they really feel nice to the touch and nice to operate. Even with gloves on, they just feel nice. And I know that's a strange thing to say, but I personally think it makes a difference. Also, they are both span adjustable, which you don't get on every bike. So that's good, because I did have to use those to tailor it to my span and make it work easier for myself. So next up, on things which I like about the Harley, the paintwork. Now, I think Harley have really upped their game in the last couple of years when it comes to paintwork and finishes. The paintwork on this bike is excellent in my opinion. The quality of the finish is really, really good. And this one in particular, the white colour, when it's sunny, it pops and glistens and looks absolutely awesome. Now, the next thing I like is the tank badge. I really think that is cool. That is a very, very nice tank badge. Now, Harley for me can be hit and miss with their badge designs, but recently there's been quite a few which have appealed to me, and I've got to say that's got to be definitely in the top 2, if not number 1. So the next thing which I like about the Harley Davidson Sportster is the handling. The harder you push this bike, the more it rewards you and the more fun you will have. It likes nothing more than having that throttle twist, build up some speed, jam those brakes in, load that suspension up, tip it into a corner, and then exit the corner, back on the gas. And that is when you'll get the most out of this bike and you'll have the most fun on it. Because when it comes to slow speed maneuvers or in traffic, you really can feel the size of that front tyre. It does waver and it feels a bit cumbersome at slow speed, but definitely at high speed, you can have a lot of fun on this bike, and I definitely have had. Whilst we're talking about the handling of the bike, the suspension is adjustable. The front there, you can do the compression changes, and on the back there is a dial which you can twist to adjust the rear suspension. But one thing I will say is that if you're looking for comfort or a plush ride, the Sportster S definitely will not fit that bracket. Next up on things I like about the bike are the brakes. Personally, from my experience, I find Harleys tend to be lacking in the brake department and tend to be underpowered in my opinion. But on this bike, the Brembos, both front and back, are absolutely superb. They feel good, strong and progressive at all times. There's no snatchiness at all. So they are definitely a winner in my opinion. So the engine, well, that is definitely a winner on this bike. The 1250 is absolutely superb to ride. And the torque of the bike catapults you down the road. There is so much pull in this bike and so much acceleration, you could not fail to smile once riding it. Now, there is a couple of riding modes, sport, road, rain and user. Now, personally, I never use rain mode on any bike. I don't see the point in it. The right hand can do all the adjustments you need, and personally, that's my choice and preference. Road mode on this bike is probably the one I would use for around town, but obviously the most fun, and that is what you're looking for on this bike, is in sports mode. Full power and full enjoyment at all times. The gearbox on the Harley is absolutely superb. No issues whatsoever going up or down the box, always a positive change.
There's never been any false neutrals or anything like that. So I'd definitely say the gearbox is more refined than usual Harleys, which is kind of a big clunk into gear and agricultural, but I like that anyway. But this box definitely feels like it's been refined and more in keeping with the sporting element. So let me point out a few of the things which I didn't like about the Sportster. There wasn't many things, but the biggest thing for me is the rear light section here, the number plate holder. For me, that's not a good design whatsoever. And if it was my bike, I would have to change that straight away. Remove the bar section here, remove the lights and the number plate. And then at the back here, just underneath the seat, I would look to fit some lights and indicators there, and then possibly mount the reg plate on the side. I just think that would tidy the rear end up. It would look a lot better and smarten the bike up. And I think having this on here does detract like greatly from the looks of the bike. So in my opinion, that would definitely be out, and some new light sections in there. Next up is the fuel consumption. This bike has only got a small tank, 11.7 litres, and even riding it conservatively, you will only get around 130 miles out of a tank. Now obviously a small tank and a very big engine are never going to pair well, but if you're looking to buy one of these bikes, that's probably not going to be top of your radar anyway, but it's just something which I did notice, and noticed quite significantly how often I was having to pull over and fill the bike up. The third thing which I didn't like about the Sportster, and I have to be honest here and say I really hated this and I found it a very, very bad design, is the indicator switch. It's so far tucked underneath that control unit there. It is a serious struggle to find it when you're riding, and it takes your concentration off riding because you're looking around, you're hunting around for it, and even when you touch it, you're still unsure that you're on the switch because it doesn't feel like a switch. It's not a noticeable switch which you can hook your thumb into. Now, I thought that was quite dodgy, and I really don't know how that's been passed off or even got through the design process. I've seen other Sportsters and the indicator switch is pronounced on there, so I don't understand why they would have took that away and put something like that on there. Also, the self-cancelling indicators. Now that's not specific to this bike. I've had it on other bikes before. For me, that is just an invention which did not need to happen. I find them pathetic. They turn off before you've even made your manoeuvre, and then if you're going round and roundabout, you notice they've gone off, you're hunting around again to try and get your indicator back on. For me, that is just something which needs doing away with, and it was never needed in the first case. So next up, and this isn't really a criticism or something which I didn't like, it's more of an observation. Now, the seating position or the riding position, feet forward, definitely love that. That's really good and something which appeals to me. The handlebars, really quite a stretch to them. Now, I don't know whether you can see, but my arms are virtually locked out there in that position. So I found that I was consciously, whilst riding, trying to relax my hands and take my grip back off the handlebars slightly, just so I could get a bit of a bend into the elbow there and just feel a bit more comfortable on the bike, and found it easier to manoeuvre. Like I say, it's not really a criticism, it's just an observation. I thought it was worth noting for anybody who's potentially looking at buying one of these bikes. So to sum up, if you're looking for a bike which will give you sport bike performance and handling, yet give you that distinctive Harley sound, and are not looking to mile munch, the Sportster S is definitely a bike to consider, because it gives something different and offers something different over other bikes on the market. Now, this bike is definitely a talking point. I had so many people coming up to me wanting to chat about the bike, and in fact, one guy came over and had to take a double look, and he said he could not believe that this was a Harley Davidson because it looks so different or so alien to what people assume Harley Davidsons look like and the picture which they have in their head. So it definitely is something a little bit left field. Oh, it would be great to hear from any Sportster owners. What are these bikes like to live with on a day-to-day and a year-round basis? Are there any quirks that kick in after a while of ownership? What they like to maintain and look after? Also, again, if you're looking to buy a Sportster and would like to know anything, drop a comment below and I'll do my best to help and answer any questions you may have. This bike has definitely been an experience and an enjoyment to ride. I really hope you've all enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, hype, comment and subscribe below. Remember to keep it shiny side up, and I'll see you all in the next one.